We, we're live, Mr. Wade. Good night, sir.
Good night, good night to Belizean people, both at home and abroad, and to all those who tune into our program. I want to say a pleasant good night on a blessed Wednesday, 2nd April 2025. Welcome to our Belizean Affairs show number 275.
You get
Leonard,
there, Mr. Wade. You get there.
slowly we creeping into some numbers of us being able to come to the nation with with truth, uh
Our numbers have been doubling.
with yes, with information, educating the public of what's going on in the country. And Leonard, we thank those people who tune in to us religiously, and give us that support, in terms of sharing our program,
Yes, sir.
and accepting our quest, accepting us as to educating the public. And they give us a big thank you, Leonard.
Yes, sir.
So I want to, from we here on this show, I want to especially thank them. And a warm welcome on tonight's 275th edition of our show. And we are about people, a nation. And as always, you know, it's a pleasure to be sitting here with our senior panelist, Mr. Leonard Brackett.
Yes, sir.
It's always a pleasure to be in your company, sir. And we should be joined also by another senior panelist, Mr. Gregory Brackett. He always be in the back there crewing up something. So I want to give him a big welcome with us tonight.
Yes, sir.
And as always, we start our program with a prayer and then followed by a reading. And again, to the public out there, we are not a church service. We are not preachers. Um, but we here on this program, one thing we have in common, that we recognize and realize that there is a God. And that's the God we serve. So we give
Amen.
him thanks and praise every time. And on that note, we start our program with a prayer followed by a reading, and I ask Mr. Leonard Brackett to lead us graciously in a prayer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll just bow my head, sir. Divine loving Father, thou who art the creator of heaven and earth and all that in them are, into thy hands we commend ourselves once more, asking that thou would hear our prayers on behalf of ourselves, our family members, friends, and loved ones, wherever they are, as well as on behalf of our country of Belize, its people and leadership, as well as this country of the United States, its people and leadership, and especially those people in the rest of the world who are suffering from tornadoes, uh, firestorms, earthquakes, uh, man-made disasters, wars and bombs and all manner of other pestilence. We pray that thou mayest be merciful unto us, Lord and Father, that we may be able to survive these bad times. Continue to help us, grant us wisdom, knowledge, understanding, endurance, courage, strength, fortitude, and help us to present a program tonight that may be of some public benefit to our people, Belizeans at home and abroad. For us, these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. I yield back, Mr. Wade. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you,
I yield back, sir.
Leonard, for that warm
You're,
prayer.
you're welcome, sir.
The country, the nation needs prayer, and likewise the world needs prayer. There's a lot going on around the world. Lots of things happening. As for me, it's the signs of times, signs of things to come. Um, I will go to a reading from Job. Job was a faithful servant, and he had went through a lot, suffered a lot. I encourage people to pick up the Bible and read the book of Job. Right? You'll learn something from what he had went through and endure. I'll read chapter from Job chapter 13, 1 to 10. It reads, "Behold, my eyes has seen all this, my ears has heard and understood it. What you know, I also know. I am not inferior to you. But I would speak to the Almighty, and I desire to argue my case with God. As for you, you whitewash with lies. Worthless physicians are you all. Oh, that you should keep silent, and it would be your wisdom. Hear now my argument, and listen to the pleadings of my lips. Will you speak falsely for God and speak deceitfully for Him? Again, I read that. Will you speak falsely for God and speak deceitful for Him? Will you show partiality towards Him? Will you plead the case for God? Will it be well with you when He searches you out? Or can you deceive Him as one deceives a man? He will surely rebuke you if in secret you show partiality.
Amen.
That's my reading from Job chapter 13, 1 to 10. Uh, Leonard, time is always an essence, and we have so much things we would like to talk about, but then we only could talk about a few because of time restraint.
Yes, sir.
Um, there's a lot going on in the country. Uh, as for me, I like to talk about the immediate things that affect our people and that are close to the hearts of and the well-being and the daily living of our people in Belize. For instance, the healthcare system. Um, Last segment we spoke about in depth the lands department, right? And you know,
Uh,
come up with 101 uh, uh, bad things in the lands department, right? And there are many, many, many more bad things, corrupted things, corruption in the lands department. Um, tonight, we want to, give a little, sober reminder of our healthcare system and who uses our healthcare system. Also, we have been talking a little before the general election that the intention is there before election in coming up and putting another SOE, right? We had spoke about it. If you go back and some of a couple of our shows before the general election, we did mention it that
Yes,
we
sir.
saw it coming based on the trajectory and based on things that was happening around the country, not only on the black side of the old capital, the south side, no, mostly in the north, cartel movements in the north, right? Murderous year in the north and beginning of the year in the north linked to cartels and drugs, right? So we here on this program have always wondered why to every time there is an illegal SOE pass, it is passed on the south side of the city. And the last one was in Cayo, right? Not, in Roaring Creek area and Cotton Tree and surrounding Belmopan, right? Wonder why, no SOE has been passed lately in the north. And now we see a rise in now the lately now because people are been caught now for some reason because they haven't been caught lately, but for some reason a couple of the drug planes now are becoming a little visible. They haven't been reporting much on the drug plane and whatever is landing illegally, but lately because now there is supposedly be a landing of a plane there in the deep south. Again, it's a second that landed in that same area. But now there was a letter with all those who had gotten paid and how much they had gotten paid and numbers and all that and names called on two police senior, but name was called. But for some reason, along with the alcalde of that village, um, the two policemen was cleared. Right. But although, however, their name was put on that paper that they had gotten 50,000 US dollars. That's the publicly that was been circulating, right? And it's in the news. It's public knowledge. But again, you hear the commissioner of police. But anyway, the outgoing commissioner of police on that tonight on the news. So if those who care to know what he had said, just tune in to Channel 7 and then you will understand what he said, right? But I'm just repeating. The two policemen was they voluntarily put up their phones now, they cleared their phone. Now, am I stupid to have my phone with all these information in it after the fact, just in case I might get caught? So what I would do, personally, I would delete everything. And then when you want to see my phone, here, see it here. Yes, look at it. There's nothing in there. But apparently this one, the alcalde now, the person from that village, he probably didn't have enough time to delete his, right? So he is held as the culprit, right? Well, I hope he, speak the truth. If in fact the police was involved, or if he knew if the police was involved, or whatever he want to say, I just hope that he speak the truth, right? So the DEA was mentioned, and I hope that they have the proper tool and they will have the proper tool and investigate thoroughly from top to bottom because there are big people in this country, big people in this country that is very, 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 very much involved. Big people. But anyway, um, what strikes me out right now is the healthcare crisis that's been going on for decades in this country. And no one seems to have done X the amount of money that had channeled through that department to better the healthcare system. The amount of taxpayers' dollars, the amount of grants, the amount of items given from other sources, other entities, other part of the world donated. Where are these donated items? Where are these grants? Where are these money given? What do they have to show for it? What do they have to show? I remember one time the Dean Barrow wife was the envoy special, and they had made a special telethon because I could remember that. And millions of dollars had been collected from foreign entities to build a hospital for children. You see, like how we have the children hospitals in the US? Was one of that they were lobbying for. I could have done. Who think that I'm talking crap? Do the research. But I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying that the way these crooks use the people, they find a way. Let us put this out there, and people donate to it because it's needed. A hospital is needed. Equipment is needed, CT scans are needed, and everything is needed, because we don't have it. So let's put it out there, and they will give us. And you think that these people doing it with a good heart, when in fact they are not. And don't forget the amount of taxpayers' dollars on every budget that goes to the healthcare department. And what do we have to show for it 2025? And let us not forget the new and improved the improved hospital, the state-of-the-art hospital that Bresenio had been talking about, and the $91 million, and all that baby they had as to who they was going to give that $6 million for that piece of land, right, to build that hospital. You see how that land thing played out and where it ended up, and who got the money. And I ask you, my people, is your hospital starting to get built? I ask that. And where is that place located at again that they actually decided on to build a hospital where health issues and where people go to get better, where people go not to inhale all this filth. And you see how all that played out, right? And here you have Johnny Briceño again, Prime Minister again. Let's see now. Maybe he wants to say it take 2 years, 3 years, like what he said about doing with districting. Or maybe 2 years because it's a very expensive venture. 2, 3 years, no, 2025, no. Right? 2, 3 years, no. Because it's a very hard thing to do. And it costs a lot of money. So you got to think about that now. So now I want to know if that's the same. I'm putting the hospital and the redistricting in the same boat, right? And see which one of them will turn over that boat. But anyway, I just like, and we laugh on it like, because, it's truth, and then, these are all bamboozlers. Like, I use your name, I mean your word there, Leonard. They're all bamboozlers to get what they want. They bamboozles. It's like, they smoke some weed, and then blow it in the air, and it touch the people, it touch everybody, and everybody get dizzy. So, Leonard, healthcare, very, very important in this country, Leonard, because who uses our healthcare facilities, the people's healthcare, the poor people, not Johnny Briceño, not Dean Barrow, not Musa's, not the. They got their diplomatic visa, and
Well,
they could diplomatic anywhere in the world to get their needs taken care of on the backs of the Belizean taxpayers. Do you poor people could do that? So are we on this program? We lobbying for the poor people, and let's talk about it. Right? Do you think that we will get this um, state of the art hospital? And one more thing, I want to mention. You see that hospital, that is big, nice hospital they're talking about in San Pedro? Not 1 cent comes out of this Bisenio administration pocket or the taxpayers. It's all foreign built. But he claimed it. Sad. And should that have been happening out there? No, that all that energy should have put at Carl Houston, where 98% of the people go there and get their healthcare needs met. Not in San Pedro. Who gonna come from Punta Gorda and see and go out in San Pedro to get their help? Mr. Briseno and Bernard, who is gonna do that? Huh?
that's
You
for the
guys think like crab.
that's for the tourists
But they didn't say
and
that, Leonard. They didn't say it's for the tourists, but you and I know who they say it was for. But anyway, I like to comment on that, Leonard, on the healthcare system, my brother. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As regards to the healthcare system, over and over and over, we've been told that they're going to use money from the Lota or the Bolida to help with the healthcare system and the NHI, and people going to get better services. And they're putting in the NHI in all the different districts then as far as they could manage, and that people will get treatment. They won't have to go to Chetumal or Guatemala or any of the other places anymore to get treatment. As a matter of fact, they may not even need to go to San Pedro, like you were saying, even though the one out there is better and more modern and up to date. Of course, San Pedro is closer than having to go to Merida, right? Or even go to Guatemala. So then, according to them, maybe it's a worthy endeavor to put it in San Pedro, because if people have to go to San Pedro, at least they don't have to go that far. No matter the inconvenience of having to travel on water taxi, and to see that there's no lodging out there where people can go out there and stay out there while they're getting their medical attention or whatever. So for all intents and purposes, we're still relegated to the Carl Husna, the Western Hospital, the Belmopan Hospital, the Stann Creek Hospital, the Orange Walk Hospital. And we remember what's been going on in those particular hospitals. That is that they don't have gauze, they don't have cotton, they don't have uh, band-aids, you know, simple basic stuff. They cannot be provided so that they can give to the people who can't afford to buy it. Instead, they have these people come to the hospital and then have their relatives go to the pharmacy and go and procure the medicines and or the necessary things that they need so that they can get the hospital treatment. And then instead of putting money into the hospitals, they're saving up money to build this new hospital. But the money as is supposed to be saved up for the hospital, since the hospital hasn't started yet, is being used and repurposed to cover the budget shortfall and to make available for what you call um, uh, money that they get from consolidated funds and when they don't have money in the budget, or they don't have a budget like as of right now. Yesterday they were
Supplementary.
supposed to have read the budget, but they can't read no budget because they didn't prepare it. and they're complaining and saying that why they couldn't prepare the budget is because of electioneering, which didn't have to happen until November. So they went into that with their eyes wide open, knowing that that was going to be the case. They were planning it from before Christmas, as the Prime Minister himself told us after the fact. And then on top of that, we're not going to have the budget read, according to him again, until maybe a month and a half, probably in middle of May at the earliest. So then, why is it that they can't read a budget? Are you telling me that if they didn't have an election, that the budget would have been prepared? And the very same people who need to prepare the budget have been paid and are being paid to prepare it. And it wasn't prepared on time because they don't have the cash flow, which had to be used for electioneering purposes. Is that what we were supposed to believe? And because the money was used, they don't have it, so they can't project a budget on which they must spend money. Didn't they ask for 100 million? What is it? Was it 100 million or how much $1 million they asked for? Or was it 200? I think it was 200 million that they were asking the Taiwanese them to help them procure. In addition to not paying the ones that they were supposed to pay according to the financial schedule of payments. So what's been happening with all those monies? Why couldn't the budget be read and then later they backfill the budget as they normally do? It's unjustifiable that they have to pass the budgetary process. At every step of the way, they're bastardizing the process. They're not living up to the expectation and or the rules and regulation or the procedures and practices. Or I would say again, maybe they don't need to manage adequately now because they're not managing to try and get the people to give them another term because they already did that. They just did that. So why is it then that they can't be doing what is right? Why couldn't they have been planning the budget, got the budget on time, and read it, and then backfill whatever was needed, to complete the numbers in the budget? Because they go for supplementary budgets during the course of the year, almost every month as well. So it's not like they couldn't come up later on and ask for the extra money. Some things stinks in Belize as a country, and I'm sure it's not the canals, because those canals are not being used for what it used to be used before. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Like I was saying, right? Where are these people priority? Um, we advocate here for the poor and less fortunate, because this the public health hospital is where the poor people go, right? They don't go nowhere else, and a lot of times you see them on social media, doing a barbecue fundraising to meet some medical expense, or poor people does that. Asking for some kind of financial assistance to do some kind of specialty treatment, like for instance an EKG, a CT scan, blood works, which is faltered in the public hospitals, right? You have some tests are done, Leonard, but there are majority of the tests that these poor people have to find a $700-800, um, um, sometimes up to $1,000 to get compile these tests, then go back to the public hospital doctor that ordered these tests so that they can read these tests and do whatever, and then offer some prescription that the medication is not in the hospital, and they got to come out with that prescription to go to the outside pharmacy to fill their prescription. So these are the things we talk about, right? These are the things that poor people needs, and we advocate for poor people, right? So my thing is that this is a day-to-day occurrence. You go to the any given hospital, public hospital, right? See where they go and do a CT scan. See, see where they go and do some blood works. Uh, See where they go and do some specialty treatment. See where they go, right? I know they talk of foolish. They talk real things that happen to real people, not phantom numbers like they put on phantom statistic. Or they killing for last year according to statistic. Lower than this year, and this one higher than this next year, and thing, and how they play around with. No, we don't do that here. We talk about real things that happen to real people, right? It's so sad, that a lot of these poor people have to mortgage or sign off a paper when they go to get some CT scan work done because, or go to the other private hospitals to get work done, and get the treatment they so desire. They got to sign off their house, they got to sign off their land, or sell out and kill cattle where they have, or sell out and leave rooster and chicken and all them thing, or whatever they got to do to do the things that they cannot get in the hospitals, public hospitals, when in fact that what comes out, the venom that comes out of the prime minister's mouth, past and present, and the government mouth, that all is well at the public hospital. And the CT, see the baby they had for the CT scan? Who does that? Huh? And in the end, the CT scan that they had gotten was not an all-purpose, multi-purpose CT scan,
Didn't work for too
right?
long.
It's not. Doctor came out and said it's not the CT scan. May he rest in peace. It's not the CT scan that the hospital should have gotten. And you see the amount of money, when in fact a CT scan is standard procedure. It's like standard procedure. You get up, you brush your teeth in the morning. Standard procedure should have that in the hospital, Mr. Brisenio and Mr. Bernard. In every given hospital across this country, public hospital. Instead you buy two new vehicles for no cronies, buy one CT scan, right? Instead of beg for an old helicopter where outdated, where unserviceable in other country where it came from, right? Beg for a CT scan. Right? People will thank you and vote for you again, right? Because these are the things that people that they don't have to go sell a land and all that thing for get these things done, their healthcare needs met, because then they go to the hospital and it's been met, they get everything done in there, right? So it's so sad to see how uses the name of fear, do this to the poor people and do this for the country, and when in fact it's all bogus, it's
Mr. S-
all generic, it's all venom, poison,
Mr.
they
Chairman,
put out there.
uh,
Back to you,
yes, sir.
Mr. Brackett.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to add on what you were saying there just now, right? But part of the reason that they don't furnish the hospitals them adequately enough is not because they don't have the money to do it, because those hospitals should have priority over other government departments. So the money should be there. And if the money is not misappropriated or misspent or misallocated or misused, the services would be there for the people to have. People's life and health and safety and well-being is more important than some of the other regular services that are not urgent. That they can apply this money. As a matter of fact, a CT scan, for example, should be in the Belmopan Hospital, the Belize Hospital, the Corozal Hospital, the Orange Walk Hospital, and the Sand Creek Hospital. Each of those institution, major institution, at least should be in possession of one of those um, items, and the budget should be set aside to make sure that the procurement of those items are had, the maintenance is had, the medicines and all the necessary things that they need, so that people can get those services. Those are critical services, like you have said over and over and over. That's what I was trying to say, Mr. Chairman. I yield back, sir.
So
Several.
right, Leonard, this is the things that we have been advocating for, my brother. Right? And it's all about goodwill, and we do it in from the heart because we see the need, right? And then so sadly that the poor people go to some of these hospital around the country, and as you get in there, Leonard, and my people, both at home and abroad, the doctor, they're ready for send you outside, they're ready for go. You gotta go get this test done. Seems like there is a connection. There's a link, right? There is a link from the public. They don't even ask these people their financial status. Could you pay for this thing, man? Could you go? No, right away then I tell you need to go and get this lab work done because we don't do it in the hospital. We need to go get this test done because we don't. They have to be ashamed of themselves for they say these things to the people.
But the private hospital that they own, that
Huh?
was bought with the public money, they can get those services. But the poor people can't get it. And then we have to pay for it as well when they go and get those services. Because that's how they're going to drain out the money now that they were doing for the health services all around the country. The NHI. They're allowing their private hospital to bill we public system for their services. Just chance it.
Big,
Just chance it.
big campaign gimmick there. And NHI will be rolled out across the country.
Where is it? Where is it?
And what is it? Where is it? And what is in it? What is it? You go there, you sit in front of you, take your blood pressure and thing, and then the bill goes to the payee. Right? The bill goes there. Right? And at the end of the day, where you end up? Carl Houston Memorial Hospital. The public hospital. You go there to follow up treatment. To get the right treatment because you come to the NHI, you think that it would be a one-stop store. Where else do you end up? Those who have experienced it, especially the ones in the north, because the ones in the north that way, then they look out for right now. But
Mm-hmm.
my people, your prime minister and your PUP government, NHI will roll out over the entire country. It's just like how they said, well, Leonard, we will educate the entire country about what again?
The Constitution.
There you go. Do the entire country know about the
No,
Constitution?
but then don't get the report, Mr. Wade. Then
I
don't
laugh
submit the
on these
report.
things because it's the word that these people say, right? And people bite it. Hook, sinker, line, and everything. They bite it, right? So I say this to you, my
And,
people.
and then vex for you, if you bring it up, Mr. Wade.
Oh, yes, my people, not vex with me, no. Please do not vex with me. Don't get upset with what I'm saying. I'm just telling the truth,
Mm.
right? And I know the truth is very hard to digest. Very hard. Once your party in power. This is my party, so not talk about my party. So, but anyway, ask your area representative in your respective area where is NHI because that was one of their venom that they put out there. Venom is poison. All right, that was one of the poison they put out there for you to digest. I want to digest it, so I want to wax for it, right? So sad, to see on that state of the art hospital, Leonard. In my humble, it's only me and an uneducated fool would say that that That
NHI.
now that hospital that the state of the art will never get built under this administration in in this term that they are in again. Will never get built, right?
Mr. Chairman,
And ask them where is the money.
Mr.
Ask
Chairman,
them.
do you know that hospital that they plan to build at that location? If they do end up building it there, it's going to cost them a hell of a lot more than what that 90 million is. Or they're going to build Wally Dog Sidong something instead. They can't build no fancy or state of the art hospital with that kind of money at that particular location. Because, first of all, they have to do remedial work for that location, which is going to cost a hell of a lot of money. Okay? And they're going to have bloated contracts just to get done part of the work they done. There's not going to be enough to do the hospital and equip it. And at the end of the day, like I said, even if it's built and built at that location, they're going to need twice as much money by the time they start rendering any service to anybody. Unless they build half of the hospital first and then build the other half somewhere down the line. But as regards to getting these services, it's going to take another 5 to 10 years before that stuff is ever completed and, providing services to people. Instead of they take the money that they had or got and put it into the existing hospital and upgrade them or upgrade the services from those hospitals, provide the necessary things that the people they need, so that they, I mean, what people are supposed to do right now, as we're talking, we're having this discussion, that hospital is not available, and the current hospitals are not being furnished with what they need. So why didn't they take that same money and upgrade the existing hospitals so people currently can get services instead of wait between 5 and 10 years to come? You know how much suffering is going to be going on between now and then? But as you said, these guys don't care because they can get their private hospital services right there in Belize from their own private hospital that they own, and then the government is going to pay for it again out of the same money that they're supposed to pay for the services for us, the rest of the people. And if they need anything more high class than that, they have their diplomatic visas what they could use. They go jump on a plane and government and pay for the services when they are abroad. While you and I get no services, okay? Or the average Belizean person get no services. But it seems like people are quite well satisfied with that. Que viva POP, que viva UDP, and let's wave the flag, and we don't expect to live off of. How do they expect to stay healthy? Who want to pay their hospital bills for them? It's crazy. And you back, sir.
So true. I like I says, you see how these people sit in a room and come up with these plans when an election is near on. Let's see how we could get some quick money,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see what item we will use. So let's use the hospital much needed. So let's use that line item. We need a hospital, so yeah, let's get some money from around the world and from the taxpayers because the election is here, and you see the baby they had for the land, public knowledge, the confusion they had with the land, and the exorbitant amount of money that was paid for that piece of whatever that shouldn't have happened. The government should have just acquired a piece of land for public interest, for public use. That's public use, not what he did out there in the on the seas, in
Exactly.
on the right. That's not for public consumption. No, that's not for us. But you see what you see. I had a small change, man. I know use all the highfalutin words. But you see what he did with State Bank and all that, and with the requirement that a private property saying that it's for public use. Bull
Lie.
crap, right?
He was
Bull
lying.
crap. What he should have done is use that to acquire a piece of land to build a hospital. Public use. right? The public will benefit. He could have seen through that, but which only the PUP fools see through what he did out there, and those who were within that cone to profit, right?
They don't even want to talk about it anymore, Mr.
Oh no,
Chairman.
that's a dead horse now. It's beaten till it's dead. It's not going to be, it takes a new entity to come and revive that dead horse and beat every jack one of them that was involved in that deal. Find out every one of them, no miss none, and then you deal with them
Some of
as
them need to
per
go
the
to jail.
law requires, right?
Some of them need
But
to go to jail.
as for now, that's a dead horse. Only a new entity, the UDP, will not do it, right? Or no, worse, these guys, right? That's a dead horse. It'll take a new entity. When they are 90, remember I always say they were 1991, 101, 200, right? Or however old you, a new entity come, they will do that investigation, Mr. Man, and when they pass on cut, right, they will do that investigation, Mr. Man, right? So if you don't think that gone to rest forever, ever, and ever, not so, right? Because it's all, not good what you guys did, right? Um, I understand the man that got that 7 point nearly $8 million for that piece of land by the sewer plant in Belmopan. Sewer, Sewer, right? He got his money, taxpayers' dollars. It wasn't a PUP money. It wasn't a Johnny Briseño money from his cane or from his transaction or whatever he does or smart. No, the taxpayers' dollars, right? He got that from the taxpayers' purse. I think by now he must be gotten paid in full, and I think by now because,
Uh,
right?
uh, Mr. Chairman, initially they had said that the gentleman was paid. That's why they couldn't reverse the
See,
deal, remember? When they
yes,
got
yes,
caught,
yes.
they said, oh, well, the money is already paid and they couldn't reverse the deal. But still, they couldn't show the payment process in the system. It didn't appear. Not only that, the amount of money that the man collected, well, I shouldn't say it like that. The amount of money that they say that the man was supposed to be paid is more than how much? Let's see, 7 times 2, 14. Okay, it's more than 14 times what the man paid for the property initially. So let's say on the eminent domain, they would have used that process to acquire that land, which was not the best piece of land anyhow, because the university had already set aside lands for them to build the stuff on good grounds, solid grounds, that they wouldn't have to spend no extra money to go and do remediation before they start build. Because while they were building that hospital at the university, they could have been upgrading the roads towards the hospital, which would have been a natural requirement anyhow as of right now. Instead, they have the people them go and squat on the piece of land and then have a problem with them to get them off, and they end up with the better land, and we have to end up to pay extra money to get the worst piece of land. They're not going to build that university hospital the way it was said in the house that it should have been built. In fact, they went to the house and get permission to build the hospital at the university campus. They didn't go back to the house and make any changes to that house agreement. So for all intents and purposes, all the machinations and how and pull the process is bogus and illegal. So they overpay for the land by multiple times because under eminent domain they could have reacquired back the land, give the man twice as much as what he paid for it, or three times as much, or four times as much, or five times as much. They could have given him 10 times as much, and they still would have saved five times as much. You know, if you do the calculation correctly. So the man paid about $500,000, and I doubt it was that was actually what was paid, because there's no records that show that he had paid $500,000. The Belmopan City Council was not receiving taxes on a property that would have cost that $500,000+. Otherwise, as of right now, then they should have been owing the Belmopan City Council extra money for taxes while they had possession of the land. They were underpaying their taxes. They valuated the land for less than what it was worth when they wanted to acquire it. And if the land was a good piece of land, at least you could say, okay, maybe they wanted to develop it, and they probably subdivide it, and they would have been able to sell it out, or do whatever they wanted to do and make some good money off of it. But let's say they had invested 500,000, and you give them 10 times that amount. How much would that amount to totally? Huh? 10 times 500,000 is how much? $5 million, right? So where the other 2 million plus gone? After you overpay for it, where did the other 2 million plus gone? I bet you they will say, well, maybe the man had to pay a lawyer, or you had to pay people for subdivide it, or you have to. But at the end of the day, it was not worth that amount of money. The government knew the value of that property before they sold it to him. And that gentleman was a friend of the Prime Minister. A friend of the Prime Minister who sits in the Prime Minister's financial department, and who took that deal to the Prime Minister for them to use as a cover to drain money out of the treasury. That's what really happened. And we won't get that hospital in a hurry, like you said earlier. Okay? Because I don't think anybody is stupid enough to go and build a hospital at that particular location. So for all intents and purposes, the government gonna keep that piece of land, and some minister or somebody else will end up with it as a private piece of land. Okay? And the government will end up doing what they were supposed to have done in the first place, which is why I think they didn't go back to the House and revise the agreement that they made to build the hospital as a university hospital, because it will probably end up being built on the university campus anyhow. The fact that they spend the money for that piece of land at that location doesn't mean that they still have to go and build the hospital there. They could just keep it as a government asset, right? Like all other Crown lands. And somewhere along the line, somebody will end up with it privately, and not the people of Belize. I hope I'm not talking too fast or too quick ahead of time.
I told you so.
I'll remember to say that, Mr. Wade.
Yeah.
Because if they are smart, they still wouldn't build it there right now. They'll still take the piece of land from the university. That piece of land that they bought was just a convenient way to dig out $7 million out of the government treasury, instead of take 1 million and pay the man twice as much as what he paid for it, without anybody else get anything on the side. But somebody had to get something on the side, and the man will have to pay taxes, or should have to pay taxes, on $7 million. So if he have to pay taxes on $7 million and he didn't get $7 million, that means that he's getting cheated, right? I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. It's
You're
like,
welcome, sir.
these are the things that you know really sad, and to see how these leaders, you know, do business, um, and you'll be surprised to know the players. Surprised to know the players of that deal, right? Some of us know who they are, right?
I
They
know.
know themselves. I'm saying, like, me and you, Leonard, we have the same trajectory that it would not be built, right? That was just and you say more likely where it might get built
where it
back
should
at
get
the
built.
same original spot that they have designated to be built anyway, right?
That's the best place
So
for
here
it,
you
you know.
have 7 point something million dollars,
Just going down the toilet.
and then you have $91 million,
Mr.
and
Chairman,
all other
the se-
millions that,
the $7 million gone into the toilet.
well, it's
Am I
right
am I
there.
correct?
Yes, and you know what? When you're correct,
Literally
Leonard,
and
you
figuratively.
had some well, good thinkers. They had a press conference, and one of them, I will not call his name, poor
Uh oh.
guy.
Uh oh.
He says that, you know what? That is a safe place. That sewer is so treated that people could swim in it.
People other than himself or his family members.
What is
They're a
wrong with
bunch of
that dude?
rascals.
Of course, they went there on instructions, right? This is what you say. But anyway, they cannot think for themselves. All that was on that panel, that on that news conference that day, and said all this stupid stuff that doesn't even make sense. You can't think for yourself. Uh, you make them tell read my lips. This is what you should say. If not, when you come, you clear your office and you go home.
Yep.
That's how these people do it. But anyway, I was getting to $7 million, $91 million. I know I said no more, but these two figures, don't you think that?
That's 100 million, Mr. Wade. And the hospital hasn't been built, much less furnished.
Don't you think, my people, the poor and less fortunate in this country, that don't you think that if Briseno PUP government would have taken that money and equipped the Carl Hushner Memorial Hospital, and like you said earlier, Leonard, and equipped the other public hospitals across the country? You see, listen to what I say now. Equip. So those of you who knows what should or may or what should be in a hospital, that is what I am talking about, right? This that amount of money would have been able to equip the hospitals across this nation, and then will provide good service for the poor and less fortunate, and you will have the medication needed. When you go in there, you get on the medication and you go home, right? You don't have to go try sell something for go buy medication um, what the doctor prescribed to you, because you will get it right there and then, right? You don't have to go out with the prescription, right? So all that money we're talking about could have equipped, could have equipped the public hospitals across this country and equipped the morgue.
Mr. Chairman, we just sent them from the United States, we just sent them to Belize a lot of hospital beds, hospital monitors, a lot of equipment to send them that from a hospital out here that was going to, you know, be changed up. You know the hospital, a big hospital out here in LA. They
Yeah.
stripped out 7 floors of equipment and sent it to Belize. Which building in Belize as a hospital could accommodate 7 floors of equipment from these hospital out here when they're equipped? And they could
True on
have
that.
gotten more.
True on that.
So that's why I'm saying that each of our 4 major hospitals down there, the Carl Houston, the one in Sand Creek, the one in Belmopan, and the one in Orange Walk, could have gotten a whole lot of equipment. And just like how they got all that equipment, they could have gotten more. The only thing they had to do was to provide paperwork through the ministry to facilitate the equipment reaching there, because we paid for it for transportation as well.
Yeah, man.
And we had additional equipment that they wanted to send, and the ministry could not facilitate them getting it there.
We
That's how much
facilitated a truckload of florists, though.
that's
In
yeah.
Orange Walk. Oh yeah, come across the border with that and just deliver it to the lady in Orange Walk. No, no problem.
That's
No
how much
problem. Come across and just bring it.
that's how much interest and concern they have
And who did that?
for dealing with the people's
Your very own prime
needs,
minister,
meeting their needs.
right? That one person, right? But we only highlight these things because it's of grave public interest, right? Public concern, right? In terms of the public, John public, the poor people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who this is what we are talking about in reference for the poor people in a whole, right? But you know, when will these things stop? Um, and there's a lot of money, Leonard, that pass through the department, you know,
Mr. Weir,
and you talk about that donation. Then what
uh,
happened to the ambulances, Leonard? Not not bought by the taxpayers, donated, donated, right? So all these begging and all these donation, why can't they beg, Leonard, for some much needed? These are we talking about equipment that is needed like now, like yesterday, right?
mm-hmm.
In
Mm-hmm.
this hospital. Some of them know you have one heart monitor, some of them know you have one ultrasound machine, one EKG, right? Which is standard procedure in a hospital. Standard procedure.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? And put through the poor people through vigorous headache and heartaches and everything to go outside to get these things done on a daily basis. But yet you hear the health minister come and say, you know, these things are in the hospital, these hospitals are well equipped. Prime Minister, they are well equipped. Guys, stop on a fool, man. Stop lying to the Belizean people. Right?
Mr.
Speak the
Chairman,
truth.
Mr.
Speak the
Chairman,
truth. Right.
those four major hospitals, they said about one of the machine for like close to $2 million, right? They could have gotten that machine for less than that because they didn't have to pay the middleman as much as they end up paying. Okay, so for that $7 million that we're talking about that they wasted or misappropriated, I would call it. 'Cause I like to go to the meat of the bone. I like the play around and the dance around and the suck one little bit of the fat or bite one little bit of the fat. I like the meat. You know, so I go straight to the meat. Even sometimes when I bite out of the meat, I end up the bite bone. But the bottom line is that they could have gotten at least four different machines out of that $7 million.
Exactly.
You know, four machines. Carl Houston could have
Exactly.
them one. Belmopan could have them one. Just as you're saying, St. Creek could have them one, and Orange Rock could have them one. Because Orange Rock is servicing people from Orange Rock as well as people from Corozal. Belmopan is servicing people from Belmopan and the surroundings as well as the rest of Cayo. St. Creek is servicing the people from St. Creek as well as all the way up to PG and beyond. You don't tell me the government couldn't do that or couldn't have figured that out? They turn around and they give Mr. Ashcroft $25 million every year for the next 5 years. When in fact, while he had the port under his control, he was only getting between 12 and 13 million. Why did they have to double up his stake? Why couldn't they have at least said, okay, well, we'll give you 13 million per year for the next 10 years? Ending up probably about the same amount of money, but just spread it out over a longer period of time so that they don't have to pay all the amount of money up front and they could have the money to service the people in needs right now. Why did they have to give him $400 million? You know what 400 and odd million dollars could have done in the government pocket, spending on government needs or services to the public? Add up the other 500 and odd that Mr. Ashcroft got from the UDP. That's $1 billion right there. They're quibbling about a couple $1 million for one machine, and they are giving out $1 billion plus, at the stroke of a few pence, and it's no big deal. While people can't find $1.25 for buying a ramen to make them could eat for the day. That's the kind of management we have, or I would say mismanagement or malmanagement. I yield back again, sir.
So true, so true. And while we're on that,
Ludicrous, man.
the poor, the poor condition of the morgues around the country, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What they call morgues, right? Poor condition, right? I mean, who are seeing these things? It's like
They don't
it's
care.
it's not worthy to talk about in by the leaders in the house. It's not worthy enough to take a serious look at. Only when something actually happen or fail at these places, that's when they talk about it, and then they talk how they will better it. From the time of memorial, they will better it.
I
And
thought that
2025,
I thought that was the reason why they moved Mr. Shabbat from the Ministry of Health and put Mr.
there
Bernard.
you go. You remember that?
So then why is Mr. Bernard not being moved and somebody else get that assignment, since he can't cut it? That he didn't do any more better than Mr. Shabbat, and everybody was up Mr. Shabbat um, nose, These guys, the sitting cabinet, they're supposed to be smart enough to figure these things out and you know figure a way how to get it done, because it's not like the money is not being disappeared.
Gone.
Money is there, but it is not being used adequately, or the priorities are not being you know taken care of adequately. Because nobody would fault them for doing the right thing, but then they want to give X when we complain to them because they do the wrong thing. So I don't care how vexed they want to get. We'll get vexed till they bust like some big blue concuss. You know, it is my right to point out what ails me and ails my country, and I'll keep on doing it. Okay, which one I don't like it? I yield back, sir.
You know,
Uh,
there's a leader that says, another country in the Caribbean, in Central America here, it says that, a lot could be done in your country if you put the money to work and put it where it belongs. A country could develop,
the same man
right?
I like so much, Mr. Bukele.
You know, and that's a true statement, right? That's a very, very true statement. I can't see why these guys do the things they do, and when they get voted in, where their where their priority goes, right back to the corruption, right back. That's where their priorities go, trying to think out how they could make something on the side of a deal or make something
The big
instead of
hustle.
doing the right thing with the money,
The big hustle.
right? The
That's what
bill
it's
of
all about.
street, the estimator comes to say you want 3,000 loads of sand and gravel on the street, or loads of sand on the street, right? They cut it down and you say, you know what? Only do it one, put on 200 load on that, and the rest carry it here for me, right? You understand me? That's how they all do. None of them have the heart. and the will to just do the right thing. We're already paying them handsomely,
Mm-hmm.
handsomely, huh? And all the other little perks they get handsomely. Up to the phone when they use the taxpayers' dollars. Them public and private vehicle I ain't gonna fuel out of book. Which
Mm-hmm.
one of them minister come out of them pocket and go buy fuel? You know
None.
they, you know they, you know the wife vehicle and the sweetheart vehicle and this your heart and that to their heart and that to their heart, right? This is all public knowledge, right? It is all a big hustle, right? And they get up in the house and with baby face and say they're doing the right thing for the love of country and the people. Who does that?
Mr.
And
Chairman?
yet they walk on the street knowing what the hell they do and expect people to like it. Expect me to say, oh, thank you, Mr. Minister, woman, my minister this. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, you did. Bull crap.
Mr.
You'll
Chairman?
never hear that from me,
Oh,
right?
sorry. Mm.
I'll tell you how much you stole. That's what I will, and how much you got illegally. I could care less about the things that you should get or you have legally. But the things that you have gotten illegally, I'll tell you about it, right? It's only the right thing to do. You shouldn't do that and get away with it because it's not yours. It's not yours.
Mr. Chairman?
And then you want me to call you honorable again. That's a very hard word for me to tell any one of you. That word honorable. Because none of you are honorable. None. So why should I do that? It's a sin to say something that is not. Speak the truth. It's always set you free. Go ahead, Leonard.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Uh, could we switch the subject to the other point that you had brought up about the. Um, well, I don't think you actually brought it up yet, but we had discussed it before. The thing about the.
The SOE?
Uh, yeah, that could be included too, but I was going to the issue of the police department itself, and probably that
Or
could
that
also
I
come up as
open
part
up
of.
with? Yeah,
Yeah.
about, there's a lot of drug trafficking. There's a lot of cartels and they are committing crimes in this country. And the system knows it. The police knows it. The prime minister knows it. The police minister knows it. The commissioner of police knows it. Past and present one knows it. Right? But yet, you see the people, Leonard, that they penalize, right? The people that get caught with the lead with 1 pound of weed or the lead 2 stick of weed or the lead how much grams of weed, then are the people who get penalized when the big criminals get away, right? The plane landing, you hear that has went dormant for a while, only the civilian people was reporting it. The system for a while has not been reporting plane landing, but it was never gone away, just like COVID, right? Still here. Plane landing, it was still happening. Plane and landing on land and in the sea, right? It's still happening, right? And as I speak, right? Lately, the one on 2 occasions, Leonard landed on that very same area, in that very same area. One
Mhm.
last May and one now. Landed right in that very same area. But now they find, well, every time they go to these areas, Leonard, they say, oh, I mean, it's a tedious spot and they couldn't get there in time and thing. And when they get there was nothing to be found. Nothing to report, nothing to be. found. Right? Everything was gone. Right? But this time they found a letter stating they had implicated two policemen, the alcalde, and some other people, and they stated how, on that note, because it's publicly circulating, right? It's news item, it's public knowledge, how much they got. These two policemen should got like 50,000 US, right? That's 100,000 Belize dollars, right? But and then they were yes brought in question, and they even offer their cell phone, Leonard, to
Mm-hmm.
check and make sure you're not connected. So they were cleared because they came voluntary, and then that's from the words from the commissioner of police, like other items. But then this one man from the area, the alcalde, the headman in that village, he was the man that they found evidence. They found evidence. So he's been held as one of the plain lander. So I
This is
said this to say, let me finish. I just hope that
uh,
he spilled the beans on those that was with him. That he didn't do it alone. And then when those are caught, I hope they spill the beans on the bigger one. I just hope that.
you
But
remember.
anyway,
Oh, sorry.
that's
Sorry.
the latest. Go ahead, Leonard. Go ahead.
Yeah, you remember a while back when we were dealing with this Mayan land issue, and I point out the fact that for national security reasons, the lands that are adjacent to the borderline cannot be ceded to these people for their own control because our defense and police people have to have access to those lands at will. And I explained about what could have happened as is now happening, where now the very same people that live in the area are getting on being involved with the process apparently. And if they were to have full control of those areas, it means them that the police can't go and get them, or the BDF or any of our defense personnel can't gain access to those properties or those lands. And I also pointed out back then that it seemed like the government wasn't thinking on those levels or about those particular issues because they would have brought that issue as part of the conversation that was being had. But instead, what they did is to fire the person that was dealing with that department altogether because of what the person had said in the house about the matter. The person had described what the people were doing. That is, they were doing a land rush. They were grabbing up more lands, and the more they grab, the more they want because the bigger their community becomes, the wider the concentric circle would become in terms of how far outside of their community they would be entitled to get or how much they really wanted. They didn't just want lands for them to cultivate currently, they wanted lands for future generations to come, which meant that the lands that they were getting would be overlapping the lands that other people had, and they were proposing that the government should buy the lands that other people have and give it to them. So then what would have happened if the police then couldn't go on to these people in place now and found out that the alcalde was the one that was holding evidence from the plane landing and the drug trafficking, and that some of the drug trafficking people in those communities are saying that they don't want the police them to come around their community either. You have one country and one constitution, and the laws must be abided by everybody, not just some people. So, for all intents and purposes, when the foreign countries then classify our small little countries as being traffickers, it's everybody that get blamed. Everybody get tarred with the same um, brush. So our people need to get their act together, start to be serious about this process, and stop playing games because People know people, and people know about other people and what other people are doing, and that's what's causing some of the killing that's going on. Because people know that other people know their business, and they don't trust them, and they don't want to expose their business. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Uh, I don't
Um,
know how close we are.
Leonard, it's so sad to see the state of affairs in our country. Um, yet yet the system is saying that everything is fine. People, this is the best that the Belizean people had ever lived in 43 years, right? Um, who believe that? Believe that. You know, um, it's so sad to see how they conflate the books to suit their agenda so that they look good, and it's all conflated because it's not real. It's bogus. Um, you know, I will wait and see, Leonard, because you hear from the police minister that he had not ruled out another SOE, right? Just that it hasn't happened yet, and he does not know where it's going to happen. But that's from his mouth. I
They,
heard that tonight
they're waiting.
publicly.
They're waiting for something to happen on the south side so that they can put another one. But things are happening in the north, and they're not waiting. They should go ahead and put one.
Yeah, you hear about the way they conflate and they play around with people's lives, people's loved ones in terms of murders that had happened, how they classify these murders,
Mhm.
right? And just to play around with the books and numbers so that they look good through the eyes of the media and maybe the world who do not know that, oh yeah, this government is doing a good job, and because of the way they play around with the numbers. But when in reality, on the ground, that's not what it is, right? So I say this to say that for those who had lost loved ones, really lost loved ones, right? If they listen to how these people talk about their murders, right, and the way they got murdered, and whether it's murder in the first degree or willful murder or second degree murder, right? You see how they play with your loved one's death, right? In whichever way, right? Just to suit their own, agenda, right? You see the situation with the cane industry, right? It's a never-ending saga, never-ending. As for me personally, I would say like this man, Johnny Briseño, the prime minister of this country, is from that zone, right? He would try to make it right, right, and do the right thing, because there's a right thing and a wrong thing, right? Try to make it right for the cane farmers, but you see the level of treachery, you see the level of corruption in that industry, right? And the way he does things, right? And what he says, well, if this man we talk about this thing, he shouldn't be prime minister, right? Put the name on the ballot for prime minister because the buck stopped with him. Yeah, him, the prime minister. So he could care less what this other man have to say. He
But he's
say what he say and do what he do, and so my point is, brother, it's just that I say because this man is from that zone and he's a cane farmer too,
he's selling out
he'll
his people.
yes, he'll try to do the right thing. But as for me, you know, he acted in bad faith. Um, he acted in what he called good faith before election because he knew what he wanted. See, the man is not a stupid man, right? And the promises he made to his people, his Caneros bodies, right? So that he made a promise to them so that he could have gotten the votes he want,
Hmm.
right? But now he gotten the votes. So he could care again, not a five. He could care less about you for the next 5 years.
Exactly.
On the same time, on his own time to give up power again, he's gonna come back to you again and come out with the same shenanigans he did before the election again. And the promise that he'll promise you again before, right? Right? He'll make that same promise that he'll make it right. Just give him that next chance. So I say this to you, Mr. Johnny Brisenio. Please, don't wait for the end of your next of this term again to do with districting, right? Do it as of from yesterday because it's past due, needed, should have been done, and it's the only right thing for you to do, Mr. Man. Do with districting. If you do it now, and maybe the people will like you, like you again, and they will vote for you again, right? But that's all, I am asking for you to do. Do the right thing. Not do the wrong thing. Do the right thing, Mr. Man, and do it this you can. Make the level playing field equal or near as equal. The country, make the country equal or near as equal. What is so hard for you to do? Why that is so hard? We on this show, Leonard show, Greg show, or senior panelist show how it could be done in you gave him an extra 3 hours, right? You said we said six, three. You said six, right? And then he says 2 years, maybe 2 3 years because it's a very lengthy process and it's very expensive
I would
and
say that
when your man
he might take more than 2 years to do it. It might take probably two times
so
three, 6 years.
so I say this to say that you are all contradicting yourself. When the UDP was in power, your attorney, Mr. Marshallek, PUP attorney, says that the PUP dragging their foot and it could simply be done and it's easy to be done and there is software and if they have the will they could do it in no time and it's so easy and less expensive. It's not costly at all. That's what your man said in 2012. 2020, your man Courtney, big man in this country, well learned. He is the god of this country, right? People look you, Mr. Man, look up to that man. He's your attorney and your senator and your lead man in government. He said in 2020, right after the 2020 election, we will do it because it's necessary. That was your point, man, again. No, again, your same point, man, 2025. Just don't want to do it. Right? So, he may lie then. Was he lying then? Or maybe just some word where he never say right. Well, anyway, all we're saying, stop putting the country through on the taxpayers through what you are doing, Mr. Man, because these attorney that you get is very, very, very expensive for the taxpayers, right? And we the claimant, we don't have the tax dollars, right, to go through this with you, right? In terms of telling you to do the right thing. That's all we are telling you to do. Do the right thing. We don't have the people's purse, right? So you didn't expect this to be where it's at. So, like I say, ease the burden of the taxpayers, right? And do the right thing, Mr. Man. Right. That's all I'm asking you, Leonard. You have 6 minutes to for the your closing.
Okay, sir. Um, I'd like to say that we've just been through an election cycle, so I don't think there's any urgency on the Prime Minister or Cabinet or the government as a whole to correct any of the deficiencies that existed before the election was held. And I'm tempted to believe that more likely than not, those issues will not be attended to until when the next election date is coming close. And they might attempt to do it then because the numbers are in their have been in their favor, are still in their favor, and they would like to be able to keep those numbers in their favor. They don't want it altered. They like it the way it is. The way it is good enough for them. And it's all about winning the election so that they can be empowered for another cycle. So there's no need for them to make much changes as of right now. If they make any changes right now and they do the corrections right now, it's going to give the opposition or the other people a leg up in terms of where to do their campaigning and who are the people that are going to be in their area if the changes are made. So they're not giving anybody a heads up, and I don't think they will be wanting to give anybody a heads up until the last minute before the next election is called. That's my closing for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, too, Mr. Chairman.
And it's
This
always a
program.
pleasure to sit in your company, Leonard. And I just hope that
The pleasure is
you
mine too, sir.
know this 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 program had shed some light. Most so in the healthcare system, right? And for the poor and less fortunate people who use this system, the healthcare system, have some kind of idea what's going on and know that there are people like us who sees it and are capable of talking about it. Not afraid to open your mouth, our mouth, right? Like other people, right? We are not afraid to call out a spade, right? So, I just hope that they appreciate that there are people like us advocating on their behalf, Leonard, right?
Yes, sir.
I just hope that they appreciate. For those who appreciate, thank you. And of course, there are those that who might say that we are not doing the right thing and we are talking lies, right? We
Can
have
I
2 more minutes there, Leonard.
uh, can I
You want to
go ahead?
acknowledge some
Uh,
people?
yeah, I wanted to read some of the things from some of the people that were already
You
beyond.
got 2 minutes. You got 1 minute. You could do that in 1 minute.
Okay,
One
okay.
minute on my end. Yeah.
Miss Rubina Forte said good night, good night all, and we are grateful for her constant and almost permanent support.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even say almost. You should say her permanent support because she's been with us from the beginning,
Oh yes. Oh yes.
every night.
Yeah. Oh yes. Watch us
Thank you very much,
religiously.
Miss Rubina, for your engagement and your help. And I hope that whatever is it that we're doing here will accrue some public benefit to you and your country as well. We have Mr. Vincent Garvey, and he's saying, blessed night. Thank you very much, Mr. Vincent Garvey, and blessed night to you too, sir, and thanks for visiting the show. And we hope that whatever we presented tonight may accrue some positive public benefit to you and others as well. There are other people,
On that
many others who tune in after the show is over. As a matter of fact, right now there's quite a few people on already.
on
And
that note,
yeah, go ahead, Mr. Chairman. I yield.
yes. On that note, I want to say good night because of time constraint. And good night to our viewers and listeners, both at home and abroad. And for those who are going to view us a little later, pleasant good night and enjoy our message. Thank you very much. May God continue to bless you, guide you, protect you, and keep you safe. And I want to say good night.
Good night.